But I am prepared, like others in this region, that if we cannot reach a sensible agreement on this matter, then if the cost of it is the loss of my visa to the US, then so be it. But what
Hey guys, what's happening? Take back your visa now. Who cares? Well, basically, the Barbados Prime Minister sent a clear message to Trump's America saying, I'll be the first on the line to hand it in. I have no problem with that. And she really hit back forcefully. But I want to let you guys know that this visa revocation tactic is a pressure campaign. I don't know how long many of us will last with it, but it's a pressure campaign. And in this context, the visa revocation is not just about one leader or a single diplomatic spot. It's part of a broader campaign to destabilize and isolate these Caribbean leaders who have shown even the slightest inclination towards Chinese cooperation, Russian cooperation, or defiance of the US policies. And we'll talk about that now, but I'm going to bring you Mia Motley right now because I know everybody waiting on Mia Motley. Check this out.
that if ever there was a time that has been perilous since independence, and if ever there has been a time that has been perilous since World War II, it is the world in which we live today, sir. It is the world in which we live. This matter with the Cubans and the nurses should tell us everything that we need to know. Barbados does not currently have Cuban medical staff or Cuban nurses, but I will be the first to go to the line and to tell you that we could not get through the pandemic without the Cuban nurses and the Cuban doctors. I will also be the first to tell you that we paid them the same thing that we pay Bajans, and that the notion, as was peddled not just by this government in the US, but the previous government, that we were involved in human trafficking by engaging with the Cuban nurses was fully repudiated and rejected by us. Now, I don't believe that we have to shout across the seas, but I am prepared, like others in this region, that if we cannot reach a sensible agreement on this matter, then if the cost of it is the loss of my visa to the US, then so be it. But what matters to us is principles. And I have said over and over that principles only mean something when it is inconvenient to stand by it. Now, we don't have to shout, but we can be resolute. And I therefore look forward to standing with my CARICOM brothers. I wish I could say brothers and sisters, but brothers, to be able to ensure that we explain that what the Cubans have been able to do for us, far from approximating itself to human trafficking, has been to save lives and limbs and sight for many a Caribbean person. So, Mr. Speaker, I hope the contrast has been clear for all to see.
Shots fired. Mia Motley sends clear message to Trump's United States of America. You can't get it any better than that. So Gonzalez has chimed in, Rowley has chimed in, Antigua's prime minister has chimed in. And you saw what happened to these countries already. Antigua's facing pressure over Alpha Nero, UK visa business. I know what's coming for St. Vincent. I'll tell you about that. But anyway, this is subtle, very subtle. Because the United States don't just storm in and impose sanctions. Right? They use tools like visa denials to cut off political leaders from the international stage. You get me? You understand what I'm saying to you? By revoking visas, they essentially force these leaders into diplomatic isolation. They make them appear weak, unsupported, and unable to engage with their counterparts at the major global forums. Mia Motley has been on the world scene. Gonzalez has been on the world scene. Rowley has been on the world scene. Guyana's president, Orphan Ali, is on the world scene. So when Caribbean leaders can no longer travel to the US to engage with institutions like United Nations in New York, their global credibility starts to erode. But I don't think it will go that far because even President Maduro can go to the United States at the UN. So the leaders are forced to either retreat into their own domestic issues or seek out support from powers that don't come with strings attached, like Russia and China, but they're giving strings now, especially China. But this is precisely what the US is trying to avoid, but they're pushing these Caribbean people into the arms of Russia and China more. But I tell you something, remember before the pandemic and through the pandemic, we were talking about QR code and global passport and all of that. Don't get it twisted. A lot of things are in the hidden agenda circle, and you have to understand it. But I also have to warn you that these leaders are speaking from a position of privilege. That's something else that we'll have to talk about. I just want to remind you of that. So guys, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Share the channel, share it far and wide. Let's build this Caribbean community, because that's the only how we can talk about our own issues. Share the live. All right?